The fluorescent lights in the upper offices shaded everything a sickly blue-green, as if the world behind the glass had lost its color. I could see my own reflection, wide hovering ghost-like over the maze of cubicles. There in my little world, I adjusted the battered headphones resting on my neck, the kind with one ear cup duct-taped in place. The only color came from the blinking lights of my old computer, the one the company didn't mind me using for menial sound jobs. Trivial TikTok edits, radio ads for grocery stores. I was mixing levels for a supermarket promo when he called me in. Mr. Dupree's, my boss, never raised his voice. He didn't have to. His thin smile and the measured clack of his heels on the parquet sent a shiver through the air. "See ya," he called from his door. "Bring that file." Inside, the air was heavier. His office smelled of the cheap pine-scented spray cleaners and the bitter tang of instant coffee. He gestured to the little speakers on his desk. I handed him a flash drive. He inserted it and the promo played. The jingle I'd mixed, something about fresh fruit and unbeatable prices, barely filled the room. He stopped it with a tap. "Have you heard of professionalism?" I just nodded, heart beating somewhere in my stomach. He pried the headphones out of my hand, turned them over as though they might infect him. "I don't understand. You come here every day, headphones on, like you're at a rock concert. You make these noises." He started the promo again, mocking me. "Is this what you wanted in life? Are you happy shuffling around, tinkering with silly sounds?" Heat crept up my neck. I said nothing. I could hear giggles outside, the ones who had peeked in when they saw me being summoned. "And your dream," he continued. He even made air quotes. "Sound design for what? You'll never make a movie, you'll never work for a studio. That's not a future, that's a hobby, and here I need workers." He traced his finger over my chest in a swift, dismissive line, as if erasing me from some invisible list. I left his office with my head bowed, the staff's laughter prickling at my back. I could hear them whispering, feel their eyes skittering away each time I lifted my gaze. The rest of the day, even my computer keys sounded jeering. My uncle caught me later at the back gate smoking behind the dumpsters. He worked the night shift, cargo deliveries. His voice was quiet. "You take things too personally, Sia. You need a real career. You can't eat with dreams." "But dreams feed something else," I murmured. He just shook his head and clapped my shoulder, too hard, always too hard, as if he could shake the ideas out of me. I remember walking home that twilight, the M1 highway overpass humming above, the city lights pulling dusk into neon gauze. The noise of Johannesburg was never music, not then, not for me, it was chaos. Horse street hawkers, taxis blaring old Kwaito, the far-off whine and rumble of trains. I walked past the crumbling paint of my mother's building, up the worn stairs. My little brother shouted hello, and my mother, tired, watching some reality show. She didn't understand what I did, couldn't see why I spent hours with old headphones, making invisible magic. "Someday I'll make something real," I whispered to myself as I closed the bedroom door and opened my battered laptop again, ears tuned only to a world I wished I belonged to. For years I was expected to fail. At family gatherings they'd ask about Sia's music thing, never quite the right word. My cousin who sold insurance, my aunt who taught at the primary school, my neighbor who owned a fleet of taxis. They watched me with the same look you'd give someone who claimed the sky was green. One Sunday over roast chicken and pap, my aunt said, "I wish you'd stop chasing fancy-sounding jobs. We need teachers, electricians, real things, this movie sound. Who do you think you are?" My mother said nothing. She squeezed my hand, but her palm was limp, apologetic. "Here's the truth I nearly broke. Rejection isn't loud, it's soft. It's sitting at a table and feeling invisible. It's holding your dreams in your mouth like a stone and forgetting how to swallow." But at night I lived twice. Lying in bed, I'd listen to the sounds no one else did. The hum of fridges, the static of televisions in other flats, the distant music from the shebeen downstairs. I recorded them on my phone, dragged the fragments into free mixing software. I made rivers out of taps and thunderstorms from distant trains. I stitched real and imagined sounds until I had a tapestry only I knew how to read. I started sending my soundscapes out to anywhere that would listen. Forums, tiny indie game teams in Europe, college film classes, open calls for short stories, sound competitions. Mostly I heard nothing back. Sometimes a polite "thank you, not this time." But one winter, in a cold not even the sun could break, I got an email from a filmmaker in Cape Town. He wanted city soundscapes for a student short about loneliness. He'd pay me 200 rand, I did it for nothing. At the premiere, a rented hall with folding chairs and a lopsided Coke banner, I sat in the last row and heard my Johannesburg at dusk, the highway, the evening birds, the breathing of the city. When the lights came up, no one clapped for the sound, but the filmmaker shook my hand as though I'd changed something big, and for the first time I believed I wasn't wrong. The next years were less a straight path than a stubborn one. Work in the office by day, at night headphones and clicks. My mother grew quieter, worried I'd never leave home. My uncle called less. My friends drifted into marriage, children, regular jobs. Once I worked on a horror podcast. I made old radiators into monster growls, spat into metal bowls to make ghostly whispers. Nobody at work knew, nobody asked. I scraped by, a few rands here, a voucher there. Freelancers like me called it eating the shadow. It got to me, sometimes I broke down. Some nights the power went out and I'd sit with my laptop in my lap, battery dying, angry at all the world's silence, but I didn't stop. I was 27 when something changed. American producers needed African city sounds for a Netflix documentary. I had nothing to lose except the price of a taxi to Soweto, Bertram's, Sandton, any place with air and noise. I recorded days of life, buses shrieking, children's songs, prayers, rain hitting zinc roofs. I sent the files off. I forgot about it. 2 months later, I woke up to a deposit larger than my mother's monthly wage. I ran out to find her in the kitchen, half asleep over her mug. My hands shook holding the phone. I did it, Mama. She blinked at the zeros, not understanding. Is it illegal? I laughed, squeezing her hand. The relief on her face was small, but it grew every day after. I paid off debts. I bought her new shoes. I ate pizza, real pizza, the kind on TV. One gig sprouted another. My name appeared in the credits under sound design. Sia Marlangu, I made cityscapes, animated films, ads. I worked for agencies from Lagos, Cape Town, sometimes even Berlin. My inbox was always open, always jittery with new things. It was never easy, money came and went, and doubt was never far, but now nobody could say I hadn't breathed my dream into life. Years drifted like wind over the city itself changed. Taller, busier, more confident. I grew more confident too. I moved out but never far. My mother still called to ask if I'd eaten if I was sleeping. Then one day a call from a number I didn't recognize. Sia Marlangu, a clipped English accent, female composed. We're producing Eagerly Dusk, Star Pictures, the international co-production. We need city sounds, custom design, the real Joburg. Your name keeps coming up. I said yes before my throat knew how to move. I pitched wild ideas, using mushrooming traffic noise as tension, pulling human breath into the soundtrack, building moments around ordinary city sounds. They listened and actually cared. Someone finally wanted the way Johannesburg felt all its beauty and harshness. I worked until my ears ached, filling my little flat with borrowed equipment, cables, notes pinned to every wall. When the director visited, he looked around and said, "You live inside the sound." I just laughed. We finished. The film went to festivals, then streaming. I watched it alone in my studio, 10 credits in, my name bold where everyone could see. Paid well, paid enough for comfort and quiet, but better still, I'd made something from here, here. Then came the call for a homecomings. My cousin was turning 40. The family had rented the community hall near our old block. Bring whoever, my mother said, but bring yourself. I laughed, feeling 10 years younger and 100 older. Driving through the city's arteries, I saw again what I had built my life from, all that thunder, all that life. I parked where I used to walk home from that dull old office and carried a small bag. It held nothing but a flash drive. Inside, the hall buzzed with talk and music. There was pap and spicy chicken, kids darting between grown-up legs, the old clock stuck on 6:30. My uncles were at the door, older and softer. My aunt had a new wig and the same sharp eyes. Faces turned as I entered. Some smiled, others greeted me cautiously as if waiting for the same old joke. We ate, we danced. Then, as the sun failed and the DJ fumbled with his laptop, my uncle stood and rapped on the mic. "We want to thank everyone, especially those come from far, and Sia who's been missing making all that sound design." A ripple of laughter. He carried on, "Maybe tonight we'll hear something real, eh?" A few giggles, I smiled and felt that old sting. My hands itched, but not with shame. I was steel now, wrapped in something warm. I caught the DJ's eye. "Let me try something," I said. He shrugged, bored. I plugged in my flash drive. The music faded. For a second, the room was awkward with silence. I spoke into the mic for the first time without stammering. Some of you called this a hobby, a joke. Tonight I brought a gift, but not just for you, for Joburg. I hit play, at first the hush before the city wakes, soft footsteps, a train's sigh. Then the hum of traffic braided with children's laughter, calls to prayer, gossip between grandmothers in the market. The city's heart, my mother's old kettle, rain on tin, the longing of a man singing 2 floors down, then music swelling. A tapestry of real and imagined, drawn from every block we had ever lived on. Kwaito jazz, gospel, all woven in and out of the streets. The sounds grew, now the morning rush, mothers bargaining, the warm pulse of life, the sharp, triumphant beat that I'd drawn from all the years of noise and hope. The faces in the crowd changed, laughter faded, people stood transfixed, realizing maybe for the first time that this was not a trick, not magic, but themselves, their city, my uncle, eyes wide, my mother, hand at her mouth. And then, as the final sound, the song of Hades greeting the dawn, faded, I heard applause, not polite claps but real, deep, grateful applause. My little brother, now tall and proud, hugged me from behind. The aunt who'd always chided me pressed a paper napkin to her eyes. I didn't know, she whispered, I didn't know this was real. I looked around the room, at every face, at the city holding us all, and felt something unclench. I was home, not as the joke but the proof, no longer just a boy with a ridiculous dream. I saw my mother smiling like no one had in years, pride glinting like steel, her own and at last mine. And as the night carried us forward, laughter, song, new memories, I knew I would always be part of this city's fabric. I had left to find my sound. I returned so they could hear it for themselves.